What is going on?
All right, man. We back with more of this Diddy dirt, dog. The Diddy Diaries is slowly starting to unfold, and those pages are turning day by day. And the famous TOURE had did a quick interview with TMZ just regarding Diddy, and it seems like, once again, I think people are focused on the baby oil, the jokes, and the memes, and that's all great. Like, find some laughter in something in a serious matter. That's all great. I still laughed at it, but at the end of the day, I feel like that's been taken and ran with, and we're ignoring the serious shit. And it's like, I remember listening, they said they found all these drugs and all this stuff, and I'm just like, damn. Like, for me as a person who just grew up on Diddy's music and just what Diddy's been to hip hop, I would have never, ever, ever suspected that they would have found all these drugs and all this. So the fact that they've said that he's had drugs that I've never heard of, drugs that just kept you down for hours. Like, I just didn't know Diddy was on this type of time when it came to the drugs. So TOURE is basically talking with them about, I guess, this drug addiction that Diddy has had for quite some time. And TOURE, if y'all don't know who TOURE is, he's also the famous interviewer and writer and journalist who interviewed R. Kelly in that infamous moment where Kelly was like, "What do you mean by underage girls?" which was absolutely insane to this day. So that's just a little backstory or cover on who TOURE is, just in case y'all don't know who he is. Straight legend in the game, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to hop right into what he has to say about this, man, and he's getting into a little detail. And I think he also, before I get into it, I believe that he had written a blog about a little bit more in depth regarding this Diddy situation, because if I'm not mistaken, he also had talked, and I don't remember the timeline on this, but I do remember the story, and he was basically talking about how his cousin was like an intern for Diddy and basically lost that intern because he wouldn't give up that butt. And it's funny how those things come out now, and I think I've said this in my previous videos, but it goes to show you how fucking powerful this motherfucker Diddy was, man. Like, Diddy had a lot of power, had a lot of things in his pocket, and people were clearly afraid to speak up. People were clearly afraid to, like, turn him in, because this is a media guy. You know what I'm saying? This is straight up a media guy. You did that with the media guy, but once again, if you were paying attention, some of us, if you're watching, some of us are probably like 11, 10, 12 when this stuff was really happening. So it's like you're not going to look at it from that lens, but he did Wendy Williams the same way. I remember this shit. He's done Locks and D-Block the same way as far as their contracts, and just Diddy's been a dirty nigga for a while. You know what I'm saying? Diddy's been dirty Diddy for quite some time, whether it's with contracts, labels, all of that. So I guess I can't be surprised by all that. I think I'm just more surprised by the drugs. But anyway, hopping right into TOURE, saying the drug addiction fueled Diddy to whatever the rest of the caption says. I can't see it.
You have posted some things over the weekend.
Oh, so it's recent too.
That are stunning. I'd like to start with your relative who did an internship.
There it is. There it is.
Because this story is pretty shocking.
This is the story that was hardest for me to tell. Something that I actually didn't think about for years until recently. I knew Puff well enough to call him and say, "Hey, will you give an internship to a family member of mine who's, a young person who's trying to come up, needs a little break?" I knew him well enough to ask him that. We weren't friends, but I knew him to get him on the phone and say, "Hey, I need a little favor for the next generation." And he was like, "Cool," and about 3 months later, the whole thing ended abruptly and unceremoniously after having been very exciting, and I was getting, happy reports about we're doing this, we're doing that, and it's fun, and we're getting somewhere, we're doing something. And apparently, at some point, Puff said to my family member, come home with me and spend the night with me, or this internship is over.
Yo, that's what?
I didn't even
find
that's
out. Crazy that this dude really would just be like, give up that butt, or nah. Like, Hollywood in this industry is definitely a weird ass place, because you hear these things all the time, and right now it's Diddy's turn, but I can almost promise you that, like, this is something that is beyond Diddy, and this is something that other people that we've seen in this game for a long time have done, and I'm very worried about the state of just hip hop when it regards that matter, because it's not just him. And if I think this is gonna go the way it's gonna go, we're gonna find out a lot more people about this. But going back to his point too, it's crazy how people have enabled this dude for so long, because this dude has really had the media outlets and everything under his thumb for quite some time. Because I'm just, once again, going back to what I said, like, yo, you're a media dude, like, you could have out this dude.
That part of it until years later. But
and I also swear he reported that or said that right somewhere there, a long time ago, because I've heard this before.
Will say anything, will do anything. Wasn't even thinking about you're related to a person in media.
I feel like I heard that through the internet lore and like the rumor mill, because once again, there's a separation of things that have went out online over the years that stem to what we're seeing now, but then there was also a lot of like clouded BS, bogusness and stuff like that. So it's like hard to tell which was true, but I've heard this story before. I don't even know if it's from TOURE right now.
Easily get on a platform and talk about this. Friends are telling me there's been about 15 years of hardcore drug abuse. You know, anything that he can get his hands on that are detaching him from who he really is. So when you think
who is really Diddy?
Why did you make such bad decisions to do these parties with so many people, to videotape them, to say no when Cassie says we can make this all go away for $30 million, which is not a lot to him. And he says no. Well, that's
a straight ego and drugs, I guess.
With drug addiction and his mind being clouded, and he's not in his right self. You know, he was extremely sharp, motivational, you know, very strategic in the first couple decades when he was.
You know, that's interesting to hear him say that, because it reminds me of an interview that 50 did, I want to say on the Breakfast Club, just regarding Diddy, and I feel like it was the Diddy and Drake situation even over that 100 beat. And shit, was that about 10, 12, 15 years ago at this point? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but this interview I do remember vaguely, and I do remember a point that he made where he was like, yo, this dude doesn't know what hit anymore, and he's like stuck in like whatever time that he's in. And I'm paraphrasing the shit out of what 50 said, but hearing him say that and just going, because once again, remember, Puffy's been quite a prominent figure in this like game for years, but like there's this crazy gap where you're like, yo, he hasn't produced or done much. And I remember this was like around that last time, because like once again, Diddy was mad he didn't get the 0 to 100 beat, and I believe slapped Drake, or a rumor was out there that he slapped Drake and they had this issue and stuff. So hearing that, I'm like, well shit, maybe he was really off his game around that time, because that was when 50 had said that. And this is me just assuming and speculating, but damn, like drugs, huh?
The last 15 years has been a haze of drug abuse.
Because he hasn't been in music like that now, I'm thinking about it.
These horrendous decisions, and that is not to excuse
so he's been in it, but like not the same way.
For the things that he is alleged to have done or that he did, but a way of trying to understand why would somebody make so many bad decisions? Well, he's been dealing with, you know, and when I said, what is the drug of choice? The answer is whatever there is on the bleeding edge.
Did he just a drug monster? You know, like Jesus Christ,
that can get you up high. So he's not even dealing with the normal stuff. That
cocaine, weed, some pills.
There's
some
this
pink shit.
Desire in him to have everything be the most. He wanted to be superior to other people. He wanted to be, you know, have better clothes, have more money, have more fame, and better parties. And the first three things that I named there, nothing wrong there, but what it meant to have the better parties than others grew from something that was, you know, let's say PG rated. I went to a bunch of PG rated Diddy parties, to something that was crazy.
I'm just always gonna laugh at people that just be like, "Yeah, I've been to the parties," because once you can't act like you haven't been if you've been around, I guess. But it's just like, if I was in that position, I probably wouldn't even be saying anything about being there or not, even if I wasn't a part of that shit. I just would just keep myself out of it, because in the thick of the things right now and how the internet works, and just, you know, sometimes your brain will just go there. Like with me, like I laughed as soon as he said, I was like, yeah, here we go again, another nigga at the party, bro. But like, you know, he just wasn't really there. So like, you can't help but not to think about it. I'm pretty sure TOURE wasn't there. Like, that's not to put that on his jacket at all, but it goes back to my points that I've said while just reacting to this Diddy stuff, is that anytime celebrities are just coming out and saying, like, for no, like, at least in this point, you know, he's just talking about it. But I guess, like, and he's a journalist. But when these celebrities that are just, you know, on Club Shay Shay's couch and just around, and it's like, I ain't never been, it's like, bro, like, unless you think that anybody who's been paying attention now is 25 and under, most of us seen y'all around Diddy. Like, Diddy's had a hand in all of y'all careers that are out here saying, like, I ain't never been to a Diddy party past 3 o'clock and all this shit like that. I'm just not here for that. So that's just rather interesting to hear that. But to Toure's point, as far as Diddy being a fucking drug addict is nuts to me, because I would have, you know, once again, I would have never suspected that. But when I heard, because I think when they arrested him, they also mentioned that they found drugs. So Diddy was still fleeing and drugging at the same time. Like, that's what's crazy. Like, they couldn't give this man bail because he would have still been doing the freak offs. He would have probably fled. He probably would have went to Bali or something. You know what I'm saying? He would have did one of those moves. So there's no question in my mind about that. And I'm not even mad about the court not giving him a bond or giving him bail or whatever. Because look at this dude, bro. You caught him even while he was ready to just drug up some more. So he clearly can't be stopped. His ego, you heard what he said. He wanted to have more of this, better that. Listen, ego, money, and power, those fucking concoctions put together is a dangerous motherfucking weapon. And you see it every single time. If you don't know how to manage it, or I feel like if you're just not in tune or just knowing of yourself, you can really get beside yourself when you get in these positions of power, or just get to this fame, you know, because you're not comfortable with yourself. I think he had mentioned as well is that he used all these drugs to detach himself from who he was. And I think if we really look at all these celebrities who, you know, do stuff like this or just OD on drugs, they always try to get away or detach from themselves or something. And that says a lot about just the industry that these guys are in. You know what I mean? Like, what is going on where, like, all of these people, you can go down the line from the rap to the acting to the comedy. Like, you can go down the line, and black and white. This ain't just a black situation either. Like, a lot of people try to detach themselves from whatever is going on out in Hollywood, and we always try to act like it's like, oh, well, no, they were stressed or depressed and had this. Like, well, what caused them to be that? Because clearly these people had full of light before they got into Hollywood or whatever, and they had this, like, extra ambition about them. But as soon as they got in there, something changed. And I, like, for all my time on this earth and just watching this throughout time, it can fall into conspiracy category or whatever. But there's something going on if a lot of these people are just having these issues, man. Like, I can't just sit back and act like that's not the case anymore. So I'm going to depart on that note. Don't forget to like the video, comment, and subscribe if you're banging with your boy. If you're not, you know, thanks for trying to watch it. But we'll be back with another one, man. I feel like this has been the Diddy hour. I've been doing mad Diddy, but this Diddy shit's about to get thick, and I just feel like I gotta just get on it a little bit. Just a little bit, even though I don't like to do the gossipy stuff. But that's why when I do it, I know I'm rambling on again a little bit and a little winded, but I know I like to do it, or I rather do it where it's like this versus where it's kind of oversaturated with, like, the bullshit, you know. Like, there's a lot of things where it's like clearly, like, that's not true, but people want to hop on and talk about it. I'm not here to talk about the, like, the untrue things or, like, the internet lore things. Like, yeah, that's a conversation that happens, cool and great, but I think the internet lore falls too much into, like, people think it's fact, and I'm not here for that part. And not to say that any of these outlets reporting or discussing things are fact, but it's more credible. I think that's just really what it is. Like, can we pay attention to credibility a little bit, like, just a little bit when we doing this? Like, can we not just go to, like, you know, Tommy Doyle's fucking TikTok page where he has the scary music and he has, like, you know, a video of Diddy talking about something from, like, 1992, but then we associate it to, like, what's going on now. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that he's innocent from things from then, but I'm just saying, like, we reaching right now. We really reaching with this Diddy stuff, and I get it. It's a talking point, and we're all thirsty for the talking point. But at least have some little bit of, like, integrity. Just a little bit. Just a little. So on that note, for real, I will be out of here, man. I'm pretty sure more Diddy shit will unfold, and I will be back, trust me, right here on the couch, right here in front of y'all. But I'm out of here on that note. Peace.